Hi guys, my name is Megan and today I've got a book review for Ravensong for you. So this book review is also going to include a small review for the short story Lovesong because I read them like one right after the other and they're such an integral part of this story, so I had to include it. Let's get started with Ravensong. Oh my god, I love this book. So Ravensong is book 2 in the Green Creek series. This one comes after Wolfsong, and this one is set about a year after the events of Wolfsong, and things are kind of starting to maybe go back to normal, but they're also kind of not. Everything is shifting around, and I really loved it to pieces. This book follows Gordo, and Gordo is the very reluctant pack witch. So he is the witch of the Bennett pack, and he's just trying to come to terms with his relationship within the pack and all of the stuff that happened in his past with the Bennetts and his abandonment issues, as well as his relationship with Mark, which they kind of fell in love when they were kids. So like maybe 13-ish, they started kind of falling in love, and then something really bad happened to the Bennetts, and I don't want to spoil it because it's pretty big spoilers for a good first half of the book, first quarter of the book or so. Won't go into that, but something caused the Bennett pack to leave their town and leave Gordo behind, and that in turn made Mark leave Gordo behind, and that just sets off this whole chain of events where Mark and Gordo like grew so far apart that you wouldn't think they would come back, but they do. And it's such a good book. So this one is full of like family drama, but also like relationship drama between Mark and Gordo, and it's just really interesting to see how everything plays into each other, and especially with the werewolf dynamics and Gordo's magic. It's so good, and really this book like came after my heart. I almost was sobbing. It was so intense and just so like well written and just filled with emotions. Like you could feel them pouring off of the pages for this book. All right, so everybody's my favorite character in this world because they're all so well written. They're all very like unique, but they're also very like real. They feel real, they feel fleshed out, they have real emotions, and they don't feel just like they're just sitting there on the page just because they're there. Gordo is by far one of my favorite characters. Gordo is so cynical and grumpy and just like, he's such an asshole character, but he's also like using that stuff as a defense mechanism to protect his soft little gooey feelings because he's been hurt one too many times and he doesn't want it to happen again. And it's just, you know, when you have those tough characters that you just love in spite of them being an asshole, that's who Gordo is. He's just so sweet and just he cares so much about everybody in his pack. He just makes my heart hurt, but in like a good way, and I love him and Mark together. They're such dorks. Like really, Mark is such a dork, and then Gordo being schmoopy about it, and it's just so good. But see, so there's a lot of really good like brother interactions in this as well with Carter and Kelly, and you don't really get to see a whole lot of them interacting, but when you do see them, they're very like, Carter's very like protective older brother, but Kelly's also very protective of Carter and Joe. I love that they just love each other so much that they don't want to be apart from each other. They follow each other around. They like reassure one another that they're okay. They're just really sweet together, and I love them. And I love that there's love interests orbiting around these two boys, and they're just a little too dumb to realize that, oh, those are love interests for them, or they're just a little bit blind to it. But I really love them, and I really appreciate how well done the family dynamics are in this book because they're just really amazing. Also, the whole Timberwolf situation, which if you guys read this book you'll find out, I'm here for it, and I cannot wait to see what happens in Heartsong, which is the next book in this series. It's gonna be so good. One of my other really favorite things about this book was we got a lot of flashbacks to Gordo's childhood, and then you got to see the shop boys, so that's Chris, Rico, and Tanner and Gordo all like as little kids being little shits, as well as the Bennett boys, or the then Bennett boys, so Thomas and Mark and Elizabeth, and they're just so funny as little kids, and I love them. They're just such little shits, and I love them to pieces, and they're still little shits as they run around the garage, you know, doing stuff, and I love them to pieces, and I love that they got more screen time in this. I'm like almost speechless about this book because it's so well written and so intense and so full of character and drama and just awesomeness that I could not, like, I can't form words about how good it is. Just like, you guys really need to read this. TJ, I think, is one of the most underrated authors that I've ever come across. So if it wasn't for Tumblr, I never would have figured out that these books even existed, and I cannot tell you how much I want to be screaming from the rooftops that this book is so good. You guys should definitely check it out. And really the one thing you guys need to know going into this particular book is that it will come after your heart with a vengeance. There's just so many emotions just like floating around, and it's just like you will fall in love with these characters. You will just want them to be like snuggled up to your heart at all times and just like protect them because that's what they deserve. So Ravensong got a full 5 out of 5 stars for me. It was so good, and I could not recommend them more. You guys should definitely check them out. Okay, so now we're gonna get on to the Lovesong short story. So this short story follows Elizabeth Bennet, and it kind of follows her from just before she and Thomas met before the first book, before we really know who the Bennets were. But it also kind of like skips around through her life up to the point of Wolfsong where it starts, and then goes through Ravensong, and then it's kind of somewhere between the end of Ravensong and the start of Heartsong, and you really get a sense of Elizabeth's life. You get a good sense of her values, but also how much she cares for her pack. She's very much the matriarch of this pack, and she's such a strong person, and she's a beautiful soul, and I just love her to pieces even more after this book, or after this short story. And I love that this book kind of goes or delves into the way that Elizabeth deals with her grief, and it's very realistic for a werewolf, at least, of how she deals with it, and you know what brings her back, dealing with all the things that have happened with their pack and with everything that's going on with her sons and Ox and Gordo and basically all of Team Human. And really this one will expand your heart. It melted my heart a little bit to see just how strong of a warrior she is, and really I love her character even more now because she is so strong and so beautifully written too. So this short story also got a 5 out of 5 stars, and I could not recommend the Green Creek series more. It's so good, you guys. Alright, so that was all for my book reviews for Ravensong as well as Heartsong. If you guys want to know more about TJ Klune, you guys should definitely check him out on Goodreads. He has tons of books out there that are like range from contemporary to urban fantasy, and then fantasy like straight up. It is so good, and he writes the best characters. You guys should definitely check him out. But if you guys like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You can also hit the notification button. And if you want to follow me on social media for more book reviews, check out the links down below. Alrighty, bye guys!